What's up, YouTube? Wanted to do a little discussion today. Today, I wanted to talk about yo-yo sponsorship. And if sponsorship is right for you. Let's talk about it a little bit. Now, I am not a sponsored yo-yo player by any stretch of anybody's imagination. However, I do get a lot of yo-yos. A lot of that just due to YouTube, and they send them to me, and I review the yo-yos. Oftentimes I get to keep the yo-yos, and that's awesome. That's a huge perk for this. But a lot of work goes into that as well. Like, I have to play with the yo-yo a lot. I have to sort of dedicate time to it. Not that that's work, that's playing, and I'm generally enjoy playing with yo-yos. But then I have to record a video. I have to edit a video. I have to make sure a video gets uploaded at a timely time, and just sort of be honest and forthcoming and try to be as productive and as good for that video as I can be. And a lot of that's I have to be good for me, but you know, I have to also sort of try to be good for whomever sent me the yo-yo. And that's not to say that I'm not honest about the yo-yo itself if it was a bad yo-yo. Usually if it's a yo-yo that I'm not going to like, those people have kind of already figured that out and don't send those to me. The yo-yos that I don't like, or if I give a yo-yo a bad review, generally that's a yo-yo that I've come across by happenstance or something like that. Try to think of what the last one. So the Hattori, I kind of gave that a sort of bad review. I didn't buy the Hattori, I borrowed it. And somebody had said, hey, I have this yo-yo. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I haven't seen anybody do a review of it. And would you like to borrow it for a little while? Do a review, send it back. And I said, well, yeah, of course. And I played with it, and I'm like, well, you know, it plays really good, but there's a lot of things about it that I don't like. And I try to convey that in the video. I try not to be too terribly biased. Like, if I really love a yo-yo, I'm going to tell you I really love it. I'm not, that mostly is my opinion. But if I don't like a yo-yo, or if there's things about a yo-yo I don't like, I'm going to tell you about those specific things, you know. But those things might not bother you, and you may say, well, I don't like those things. And I try to find good in everything, just so I can give you, here's the good points, here's the points that I don't like personally, but maybe it doesn't matter because these things don't matter to me. But I try to find a downside to everything as best as I humanly can, or as best as I possibly can, because that's for you guys. You guys need to come back and watch me, because really you guys are my sponsor, if we're being completely honest with this. So I have to be honest with you guys, but at the same time, I try to do right by the yo-yo and by the manufacturer of the yo-yo as well, because I want to provide the best possible review of the product. So let's get back into sponsorship. Again, I'm not sponsored, but I know tons of sponsored players, and I've met them, and they're great dudes. But sponsorship is kind of like a job. Like, that's really how you have to think about it. It's not like, oh, I'm sponsored, now I get free yo-yos. No, you're sponsored, now you have to do work for that company. That's how that works. It's a job. You have to do something to promote the company that you are now sponsored by. So I'm not sponsored. I don't have to promote any one company. There are lots of companies that I love. One Drop being one of them. But I also, you know, G Squared I love. Jake's awesome dude. Jake's my friend. Like, Too Sick I love too. Joey's my friend. Unspoken. Just some of the guys I'm closest with lately. Jensen and I have been close, working on the Fixed February thing. Really like what they're doing over there at ART. They're just great stuff. And you know, I tend to get close with guys who I really like what they're doing, just because the yo-yo community is so very inclusive. And if I'm a big fan of what's going on and sort of the image they're portraying, I just try to befriend them, because they seem to be sort of people that I would want to be friends with. And it's worked out a lot for me so far, and I feel like it's worked out for my channel and for everybody involved, because they're cool guys. And all the guys I just mentioned are fantastic people. I apologize if I left anybody out. Oh, SF. Those guys are great, although they're very mysterious. Hopefully I'll meet them at Nationals. But SF, so mysterious. Still so cool. But, you know, so I've had the very pleasant opportunity to work with a lot of really great companies. So to be sponsored by one individual company really kind of cuts me off from any of those others. And that's, you know, not to say that at some point down the road an opportunity will come by and maybe I do that. But I really kind of like to be in the loop with everybody because I really like everybody. And, you know, to be just pigeonholed into one yo-yo brand, I feel like hurts my brand, which is clearly to me, what's most important. My personal brand, the Throws and Brews brand, which is what I've worked so hard to build on. And that's part of it as well. But in order to be sponsored, you really have to add something to the team. You don't just want free yo-yos. Like that's kind of an aside. Like you have to be able to add something to that brand. What can you bring to that brand? Whether it's like, oh, hey, I can do CAD work, so if you can discuss a yo-yo with me, I can do the CAD, so you don't have to outsource that, and I can do that, but also I'm a pretty good yo-yo player in addition to that, and I want to compete, so let me help design the yo-yos, and then you send the yo-yos to me, and I will compete with them, but I will also help save you money on CAD as well. You pay me a nominal fee for that, instead of outsourcing that, and now I'm also on the team. That type of a thing. Or if you're into like video editing, or even with other stuff, like with kendama and stuff. Like I know Mr. Cooper Eddie, he's sort of the video man for Sweet's kendamas. Same time, like he hangs out, he films the videos, he edits the videos, he gets them uploaded, and like that's in addition to him being a good kendama player and selling, you know, pro model kendamas, he's also that guy. And it kind of works the same way in yo-yo, is that you have to sort of be some other guy. So you're either like the competition guy, and you're going out and just slaying and winning competitions and getting your name out there because, oh, hey, this guy won, and he used this yo-yo, and it's his signature. Nate Daly is a good example for that because he just won PNWR. He's got an awesome signature yo-yo that you can get at SW Randall, actually, with Yo-Yo Factory. Who's actually going to be a sponsor for the East Coast Masters competition that we've got going on. See what I did there? Good stuff. But Nate's a cool dude. Nate's got a great yo-yo. The ND Ultra is really cool. I really need to get around to reviewing that. I think I'll try to do that next week. But the ND Ultra and Nate Daly, good stuff. And Nate just really slayed it. That's the kind of thing, like, you can be the guy who consistently shows up and just is awesome at yo-yo contests and is the freestyle everybody wants to watch, and that makes you good for that team. You don't have to be the other guy. But if you're not that guy, if you're not Nate Daly, if you're not Gentry Stein, if you're not Evan Nagao, you have to be useful in some other way to be sponsored. Think of Ann Connolly. Ann really doesn't compete that much, but she has a super popular YouTube channel. They do lots of colorways for her, and she moves a lot of yo-yos. Good for Ann. Ann's great, and she's really nice, and she's really personable, and she runs a really good yo-yo YouTube channel, and it's just all really good content. And when she puts that stuff out, it's great, and she's very much a huge asset to Yo-Yo Factory. I'd say she's one of probably their top sponsored players as far as they're concerned, with how many yo-yos she can sort of move and what have you. And she doesn't really compete, and she doesn't really win stuff all that much, but she's out there. You know who she is. She's good at yo-yo, and she puts out content that's very good, and a lot of people watch. So she's got that going for her. So you got to kind of be somewhere in that realm. You have to be useful to the company. So if you really want to get sponsored, like, let's say you're, like, for a guy like me in his 30s, like, that's probably not a thing I'm going to need or want. But let's say you're 18, 19, 20, early, mid-20s. How do you get sponsored? From what I understand, and from talking to sponsored players, it's important to be a member of the community. That means have an Instagram, have your social media going, you know, and if it's not due to, you know, you're being able to talk about, review yo-yos, review product, and get stuff out there, have it be about how good you are at yo-yo tricks. You know, think of all the guys who are just, oh my god, amazing players. I already brought up Nate Daly, but think about Kai Zizin, my buddy Kai. Now, Kai talks a lot, and Kai does a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff as well, which I'll get into that. But, you know, when you watch Kai actually play yo-yo or compete in a contest, and he competes a lot, you're like, whoa, that was crazy. Same thing with my buddy John Wolf. John is a national champion, 5A, and dude's insane. Dude is good at every style of yo-yo. Like, I can hand John any yo-yo, and he'll just bust out this crazy, awesome combo like it's nothing. And it's really, he's awe-inspiring to watch. If you ever get the chance to meet John Wolf, do it, because what a cool dude. Hand him a yo-yo, any yo-yo. Don't hand him a 1A yo-yo. Like, hand him something that, like, you're just gonna be, like, shocked that he's just like, how are you so good at that? Happens all the time to me. But be in the community. Like, you know, be involved, go to contests, compete, just be out there. Have an Instagram, put stuff out a lot, tag other players, meet other players, talk to people, be nice, be involved in the community. Be friendly, be cool to work with. That's the other thing too. Like, you have to sort of be a guy that, like, people want to approach. So if somebody approaches you, hey, you know, I'm working on this thing, can you help me out? Either whether it's, you know, with a contest or whatever, be helpful, be nice, even if it's just a trick. Be helpful, be out there. The other thing, if you want to get sponsored, is if there's a specific company you want to get sponsored, and that's really, you don't want to be too broad. Try to specify it down to who you want to be sponsored by. Buy their yo-yos. Use their yo-yos. If you want to be sponsored by One Drop, but you're only using yo-yo factories, One Drop's never going to sponsor you. Like, that's silly. Like, you got to use the yo-yos. You know? You have to sort of pick a company that you really want to represent, and that represents your brand so that you can help represent their brand. This isn't going to happen for everybody. I'm not saying that everybody's going to get sponsored just by watching my video, but it's going to help. So make sure you buy yo-yos. Buy their yo-yos. Use the yo-yos from the brands you want to be sponsored by. And focus on your yo-yo tricks. I'm not good enough to be sponsored. Like, my tricks are kind of meh. I'm okay. But, like, it's just passable. Like, I'm not actually good enough to, like, put together, like, big trick videos and stuff and, like, have people watch those and, like, want to buy the yo-yo because of the yo-yo tricks I did with it. Mostly, if you want to buy a yo-yo that I have talked about, it's because I talked about it, not because I did tricks with it. And if you want to be on a team, I feel like the tricks need to be further along than where my tricks are. That's not to say that, like, you couldn't get there, because it's weird. Like, sponsorship's a weird thing. But I feel like they should be further along. You need to be better than, like, me, and you need to kind of be up there. You need to be at the top of your game. So work on your yo-yo tricks. Focus on those. And make sure whatever companies you're looking out for are the companies that you really, really want to represent. So I know the Zekio team just broke up, but if you've never played a Zekio, or maybe you've played one Zekio, but, like, Yoyo Zekio offered you a sponsorship or something, but, like, it's not really a brand you know much about, or a brand you're that interested in, it's okay to say no. And not having a sponsorship tag is okay if it's not a sponsorship that's going to help your personal brand, or a brand that you're super excited about being sponsored by. I mean, I could tell you right now that, I mean, there's probably no brands really that I'd want to be sponsored by. Maybe One Drop or G Squared or Unspoken, just because I really like those guys, and I like those guys on a very personal level. So for me, it would be like sort of being welcomed into, like, some sort of a friendship or a brotherhood. But besides that, like, I don't know if it would necessarily even add to their brands having me on, or if it would subtract from, like, my personal brand as well, because then I'd be sort of part of a team that I'd have to sort of be the guy for that. You know what I mean? You know, that's not necessarily a thing that I want. That's not a thing I would ask for. If it was to be offered to me, it'd be a hard thing to turn down from those guys anyway, but pretty much anybody else would be like, sorry, that's not really what I'm looking for. You know, regardless of who it may be, I'm not really looking for a sponsorship, and that's not, please don't take this video as like, oh, I'm looking for a sponsorship. I'm not. If anything, I'm more likely to sort of start my own thing than I would be to, like, join another team. Like, that seems more likely, and that seems more where my personal brand would go, as opposed to like me joining somebody else's brand. But, you know, if sponsorship is right for you, you got to kind of do the right things, and it doesn't happen for everybody. It may not happen. It may never happen. But if it doesn't, that's okay. And you can still have fun and play yo-yo, and it can still be cool. But, you know, well, I guess the only shout out I really have is for my dude Jeremy over at Zipline Strings. I don't know if we'd call that a sponsorship. It's more of a collaboration or like an affiliation. But I love being involved with Zipline Strings because Jeremy puts out the strings that I want to use 100% of the time. And the fact that he does them in colors that I can say, hey, what about this color, is really amazing. But much bigger than that, like as far as like, here's a yo-yo, here's a signature yo-yo, that doesn't seem to be in my wheelhouse necessarily. But signature strings, hell yeah. Reminds me, Zipline Strings were restocked on Friday. Go pick those up. They're so good. Link in the description. But that's going to do it for me today, guys. If sponsorship is right for you, you know, try that stuff out. See what you think. Remember, it's about building all the brands, including your personal brand, as well as whatever brand you want to be sponsored by. It's not just free yo-yos. And that's not the way to look at it. So if you're just looking for free yo-yos, change your thinking, change your attitude, and you probably wouldn't get sponsored anyway. Also, don't ask. Don't ask people to get sponsored. That's kind of a no-no. But that is going to do it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. I do videos every single day. I ate a pepper yesterday. It was really hot. Go watch that video. But thanks for watching, guys. Cheers. I'll see you next time.